You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 216 of Teach Better Talk podcast. My name is Ray Hewart, and as always, I am with my education-loving co-host, Jeff Gargas. Hi, Jeff.
I do love education.
I do know that about you. I think that, to be honest, I'm not sure that you always love education, but I'm thrilled that now you are very passionate about education.
I definitely didn't always like it, and I think that's actually why I'm more passionate about it now than I used to be. I think that because
a lot of educators have had that story. I agree.
Yeah, there are a lot of educators that have that story. Yep, I agree. So something else I'm super excited about, and I want you to share if you can, because it just came out like, I don't know what it was. It's like 2 weeks ago now. 2
weeks ago, I think. Because if I'm thinking what you're thinking is what I'm thinking what you're thinking, yes.
Yes. I'm thinking about, we did like a fun little like, hey, let's throw a whole bunch of blog posts all at once on one day. And we dropped 9 blog posts out on one single day. So we typically do 5 a week. Actually, by the time this comes out, we're going to be doing 6 a week.
Yeah.
But to kick off this month, on that first Saturday, we dropped 9 all on one day, all around one thing, which is the most common thing we ask about, honestly, and we talk to educators about, which is the grid method, which is our mastery learning framework. You were kind of the person that kind of led that charge, like, hey, let's do this. I'm getting so many questions. We need to answer a whole bunch of them at once if we can. So let's pull in some awesome folks and write 9 blogs, and boom. And Carrie, of course, is like, got it, and just got it done. So
I want to confirm, though, Jeff, as you get into this story, this was something that I got to kind of like push through. But Carrie is the reason this blog series exists, because this idea of like, oh my gosh, why haven't we rewritten a blog about that, was because Carrie voxed me a very common question. And I was like, Carrie, I would love to answer this for you, but also like, now that I'm connecting your question and the fact that you run our blog department, boom, why have we not written blogs on this idea?
So she voxed you a question about the grid method because she started running it in her classroom. So that's okay. Gotcha.
Yes. So she actually sparked this. I know.
What was her question? Do you remember?
Yes. She was having problems with our progress monitoring system that we had. We use like a tracking page. And she was thinking through, there were some hurdles she was encountering. And of course she did, like every other educator did. It's, a lot of them think, if I can't run it the exact way as Ray, or if I can't run it the exact way as Chad, I can't have it at all. And she was reaching out being like, bummer, I ran into this hurdle, therefore I'm not going to run the race anymore. And I was like, hold up, Carrie. There's a lot of ways to like adapt and shift and adjust all these things. You don't need to do it like me. And she was like, okay, wait, like talk more about that. And I was like, okay.
Say more things like that.
Say more things. Yeah. So I was like, okay, so we're talking via Voxer. And of course it was an easy conversation. We answer questions about the grid method all the stinking time. But the difference was, especially answering her question, I'm like, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if I could answer her question, still have that personalized conversation, but also direct her to like a wealth of resources that also enhanced this conversation? We should have a blog series.
I like it. And speaking of that particular question, Chad, literally, we just released at the beginning of this month a brand new free course over at teachbetteracademy.com, which is Chad going through student progress monitor. And one of the things that he talks about is like, here's the different ways you can. And it's really focused on why you should be monitoring, what you should be monitoring, and how you should be utilizing it. Not this is how you have to do it.
Right.
For that very reason, it's because you don't have to do it the way Chad does it, the way Ray does it, or the way Carrie does it. You should be focusing on the right reasons and the right stuff and the right utilization. So, I love how that all ties together.
It totally does. And Chad and I ran, like in our classrooms, we used to, when Chad was in the classroom, we ran the progress monitoring different. So like, I love that. Like that's the whole benefit. And so yes, the course was perfect timing because I'm getting this question all the stinking time. But then the blog series actually answered a lot of other common questions. So we get progress monitoring all the time. So that one was a big focus. And of course, the free course that goes along with that, super easy. That would have been a great thing to also share with Carrie, like in, the next person who asks will be like, oh, we have a course and a blog on that. Easy. But some of the other questions deal with like how to break down content, how to introduce this idea to students and stakeholders. One of the ones that I wrote that I really enjoyed, Jeff, was like just a complete word vomit of all the tips and tricks that I like to share with educators as they're getting started. So it wasn't even necessarily focused on getting started in the grid in a certain type of classroom or anything else. It was seriously like, what tips do I start with? What do I tell educators all the time? What's like all those things were really fun to throw in there. And then we've been really fortunate because there was a lot of bloggers that were able to contribute to this, a lot of bloggers that use the grid method that were able to share. And then a little surprise peek. If you haven't read the blogs, click on them and scroll all the way down because we have these beautiful stories of educators that are using the grid in their classroom, sharing a little bit there. So even if you don't necessarily read the whole blog, scroll all the way to the bottom. There's some secret fun stuff there. I love that stuff.
I like it. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about this episode.
Let's do it.
So Cynthia Long, this was a really cool one because I think she's the first one we've had on that teaches sign language. And I thought this was a really cool connection. Not only does she educate and teach sign language, but she just basically works with supporting teachers or really anyone who use any kind of sign language with children, students in any way. She's got a really great site that she's put together, and her YouTube channel, which is doing amazing. And I really enjoyed talking to her. It's a different angle, but she's very passionate about what she does, and I love how she came to the conclusion of why she started creating these things. I just thought it was a really cool the way her mind worked, and I love that it got me really excited about what she's doing. And I just really enjoyed talking to her. She's super, super, super brilliant and a lot of fun. And again, I love the fact that she's our first in that kind of arena of a sign language, and I think there needs to be more of that. So
yeah, and it's more than just speaking to students using sign language who that's their first language that they communicate through, but also using sign language in the classroom for a number of different reasons. And I was actually just talking to Michael Jennings. Do you remember we interviewed Michael Jennings? He's like the PE extraordinaire. Him and I this weekend on Sunday, we were just talking about the use of sign language as just ways to incorporate like movement in the classroom too. Like allowing students to not just share out loud, through their voice, what they're needing, but using sign language and I love this stuff. So lots of good tips and tricks, and definitely go check out that YouTube channel.
I love it. With that, let's get into episode 216 with Cynthia Long.
All right, we'll be right back with that episode, but I do want to make sure that you know that you should be listening to all the podcasts, a part of the Teach Better podcast network. Yes, Teach Better Talk is a fun one, and we really appreciate that you have subscribed and hopefully rated and reviewed this podcast. But we also have other podcasts that we have the opportunity to highlight over in our podcast network. Head over to teachbetter.com/podcast to see the full list.
All right, we are here. We are chatting with Cynthia Long. And Cynthia, we are already like laughing and goofing around and loving it so far. So this is going to be a great episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and learn more about your story, what you do, and what you're all about. Before we get too far into all of that, how are you feeling right now?
I am totally pumped. I had a great day. We got to go back to school for the first time, just 2 days a week. So it was super cool to see the kids again.
Cynthia, that sounds awesome. I'm actually headed back to school with students in just a few weeks, and I'm thrilled that you are like ahead of me and tell me that it went awesome. I'm so excited for that myself. So I'm glad that you've had a good day so far. I want to make sure our listeners kind of can start out learning about you as well. So the first question always has to do with kind of allowing you to describe yourself and your role in education, kind of answering that age-old question of, hey, Cynthia, like, what do you do?
Okay, well, that's kind of simple. I support teachers and other professionals with sign language when they work with children. So let me put a little meat to that. I have been, it feels like I've been in education my entire life because, of course, when you graduate from high school, then you end up going into college. And then, but I didn't stop there because I then homeschooled our 3 children. And then after that journey was over, I continued on because then I became involved with partnering with teachers in the education system for another 15 years. So it feels like my whole life has been school, 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 which is great because learning is amazing. But while I was in the school, I noticed because I'm a nationally certified interpreter, and I was thinking, where are these resources for these kids? Yeah, you can find the ABCs and counting the 1 to 10, little basic things. But I was noticing teachers needed so much more to be able to communicate successfully in the classroom. But I also noticed that teachers have their plate full. Right now, especially, they're already using their own personal time trying to figure out this online teaching and how to prepare for in their classrooms. How do I get the parents involved and to even show up to the class on time? So, they shouldn't have to worry about becoming a sign language expert and take time to invent tools for that as well. But this is where I can come in. That is something I can do because sign is my passion. So as I mentioned, I have been and still am in the classroom. Now, when I say sign language, I'm not talking about just deaf kids or kids with a hearing deficit. I'm referring to even children with autism, other children in the spectrum that cannot talk but need to use sign to communicate. And because of that, I have been fortunate enough to be on all levels providing sign services, and I'm making a difference in their life. But the difference is now, it's so cool. Now I'm able to impact students that I will never even get to meet because of what I do. And that is providing resources online now.
I love that. And I love because you went through steps of a lot of people who are like, I want to do something on the side. I want to do something. They don't know what to do. I don't even know if you realize you did it. Be like, all right, what is there a need? How can I help? What am I really good at? What do I love? And you found your sweet spot in there. And I know, and you have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your site is ASL resources.com. Tell me again.
ASLteachingresources.com.
ASLteachingresources.com. I'll have it right over in the show notes, I promise. So you have the website. There's a wealth of stuff over there, and then I know you do a lot on YouTube. Can you give us? Let me like reverse myself here and get myself on the right path. I want you to share like what's over there, what we can find over on the YouTube page, but also, was that the first place you thought, I should put this up on YouTube, or did you do the website? Like, how did you get into that? Because I feel like YouTube's kind of your go-to.
Okay, YouTube is massive. We have a large following over there. And the purpose has shifted over the years. I began just fiddling around with it when I would make a video for the parents or something like that. I would put it on YouTube. And then on our site, we started creating a massive dictionary. So every time we did a new video, we would put that up. It's hosted on YouTube. And we continue to do that, but also we will upload webinars that we do for teachers. I also, when we have special announcements, special events, if I'm talking with just teachers, if we have new resources come out, it is just a plethora of things to help people build their receptive skills, their finger spelling skills. How do I do this with a student? So it kind of touches base. Everything is all sign language, but so it helps people learning as well as the teachers who are now faced with a student and needs sign. How do I communicate? So it's got a lot of fun things.
I love it. That's so cool. One of my favorite questions to ask is actually around failure and overcoming that, and being someone who's created a bunch of videos and you're building a business on the side. You got all this stuff that you're doing and creating all these resources. There's probably a lot of stories you can pick from, along with your experience and your career so far. So I'd love if you could try and find one that you can pick and share a story with us about a time that you've had a failure or a challenge you've had to overcome. Kind of take us there with you. What happened? How did you overcome it? And then what did you take away from that experience?
Okay, so my first response to that is, which one should I pick? Okay, I do have one for you. When I first started, like I said, I was in school, but my heart was for babies. It was like I was wanting to help moms communicate with their babies. Pretty simple. By the way, side note here, did you know that babies can communicate on average as early as 6 months using sign language?
Okay,
Whereas
I have to
spoken language,
know. I learned that because my best friend, when she had a baby, looked into this and did it with her first son and has now done it with her daughter. And it's fascinating to watch.
it is. Well, and if you think about a baby in general, their first spoken language is when they're around 12 months old. So, I mean, who wouldn't want to be able to communicate with their child and know, hey, the baby's signing milk? Now, it might not be perfect, but you get what they're signing. Um, so I thought that was just amazing. So that's where I began, kind of like your friend, where she started looking into it and getting resources. So my journey began like that. Yes, I'm going to make resources for them. I'm going to have classes. That's when I set up my website, which is called Sign Baby Sign. That's actually the company name. And then I started making flashcards for moms to be able to, remember the keywords, milk and more and all done. And it kind of went like this. Are you ready? Wah, wah, wah. It just fell. And yes, I was totally discouraged, but I didn't stop. And here's why. It wasn't long after that I started getting orders for the flashcards, but they weren't from moms. They were from teachers. Yes. So I was like, okay, this is not a failure. I did not waste my years at all. I began to redirect, and I thought, well, this is not a failure for me. Actually, this is going to be a great success, not only for me, but it's going to be there for the teachers too.
Love that. So let's flip that. Let's talk about a successful moment you had. This could be something big or something small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you, and then what did you take away from that experience?
Well, I almost try to avoid the 5-letter word COVID, but I'm going to say it anyway. When COVID hit, teachers instantly needed success, and they had to shift it online. And because we had already developed everything on online resources, the success was I didn't have to start over. I immediately was able to meet their needs. I started with no time to waste, started creating free webinars led by teachers teaching like the top tools to use for effective teaching online. And we've shifted even further to just whatever they need, we're there. So the takeaway from this is we were not ready. That is ASL Teaching Resources. We're not ready because we planned on the pandemic. We were ready because every day we showed up for teachers. And showing up made the difference for everybody.
No, I love that approach. I think that's a huge note to make for any company that really kind of got a reputation, so to speak, for being a company dedicated to helping educators. When you're able to just be flexible, and the first question isn't, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Where do we start? And it's more so like, let's listen to teachers, let's figure out what they need, and let's just do everything we can to support them, which is really what it sounds like you guys were so committed to doing, because you were just trying to support teachers. And I love that you're able to give them so much success with that. As you think about the work you're doing, obviously it's incredibly important. You've been able to do so much thus far. What's really the thing that you're finding is really fueling your fire, really keeping you excited about education and everything that you're doing?
Well, I am super excited about teamwork. Just even going back into the classroom today, we got to see how the teachers were there for each other. What do you need? How's this student doing? Where are we at now that we're back in the classroom? And teamwork is just incredible. So it's like we have to rely on each other now in ways we had never imagined. With the COVID hitting, we all had to pivot. We were thrusted into new models, and we have parents, we have teachers, we have the students. They all face this challenge head on. and they've risen to the occasion. And that excites me. And I'm also excited to be a part of this team effort. So even now, we have shifted to support teachers and parents. Any of them can go to the website now and get free trainings with certificates of attendance. They can join our complimentary webinars. They can have full access to our 26-week sign club, which helps them get sign understanding more about that. We have full sets of videos that go with each lesson and a teacher plan planned out for them. All they have to do is click and they are good to go. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about everybody pitching in to make this happen.
Oh, I love the idea of teamwork. Actually, I have no idea what would we do without our Teach Better team. Like, oh my gosh, people, you have to find your team, whether it be because you're a part of an organization or a company, or hello, like me in the classroom, like working with a team of teachers. Teamwork is the best. So continue to fill your circles with those amazing people. It makes such a huge impact.
Yes. Well, you know the quote, it's one I like a lot. It says, teamwork divides the tasks and multiplies the success. And that's what it's all about for our students.
Very, very cool. I love that. So I have to know, we talk about advice all the time in question 5, and I think it's a great opportunity here, especially with the work you do. People may not be familiar with the incredible, different ways that you can use sign language and everything else to communicate not only at, a younger level, but also at any grade level. What would be your one piece of advice for any teacher, whether they're brand new to the job, this is their first year, or they're like 30 years into the profession? What advice do you want teachers to consider?
This one was really easy for me to answer. Like immediately I came up with never underestimate the tremendous impact you have. So you're going into the classroom every day. It may be hard to see, may be hard to remember because of the routine of everything. But teachers, you make a difference. Now, it might surprise you. This is my personal story that I have been, and I'm going to tell my age here, for about 40 years. I was still in touch with 2 of my favorite teachers. And up until recently, we had communicated every Christmas with our exchange of Christmas cards. Now, who does that? What teacher continues to stay in their touch with their student after all those years? Well, it's because they believed in me and they encouraged me when I was younger, because I was one of those students that struggled. I had challenges with reading in school, and that caused me to get a little behind. But those 2 teachers especially, they believed in me and they gave me and my parents whatever tools we needed for me to be successful. And so because of that, it's made a huge impact on my life. So yes, remember that you are shaping your children's future. And because my teachers believed in me as an adult, I can believe in myself. So that's the impact you make. You make a difference.
I love that. That's great advice right there. All right, so before we jump into our 6 questions, our little speed round here, I know you want to do something awesome for all the listeners. You got an opportunity for them to grab some free stuff, a couple of books or a book or a free book, right?
Yes.
So can you explain to us what that is? I'm going to make sure there's a link over in the show notes that you provide us, but what is it that we're giving everybody?
Okay, so anybody who would like this, and even if you don't use it in your classroom, which I think you would, you can use it with your kids. But I have written a 20-book series, and they are ASL lesson plan books. So let's say you want to use a sign language in your classroom for classroom management. So instead of the child blurting out something, they might just give one simple sign. They need to go to the restroom. Simple. Teacher can answer with one simple sign, yes. And so that cuts down classroom disruptions and everything. So these books are created just with lessons and videos to help reinforce 12 words that are being taught in that series. So you can go over there with this coupon code, and we've set it up so that if somebody comes here even for a year later, they can still access and pick out one of the books. You choose what topic you want.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for that. And if you're listening, that's going to be over at the show notes and at teachbetter.com, so you can get that there. But thank you very much, Cynthia. That's really cool. So let's keep the fun going. We're going to do these next 6 questions. Your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
I got this.
All right. What is one EdTech tool you cannot live without?
Oh my goodness. Chrome extension called Kami, Kami.
Give us a book you're reading right now.
Okay, my favorite one is The Road Back to You, an Enneagram Journey to Self-Discovery. And there's a second one that's great for teachers, The Power of Your Words.
Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today?
I am really enjoying Lesson Picks. That's with PIX.
And what's a good YouTube channel, website, or podcast for educators to check out?
Okay, well, outside of my website, I'm going to go with Pocket Full of Primary. And then there's another website that kind of goes more in depth for the Enneagram for school teachers.
And give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
So my routine I would encourage anyone to do is before you head out to school, look at yourself in the mirror or type it and put it on the mirror and say, I'm going to make an impact on my students today.
And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Okay, this one might shoot me over 15 seconds, but it's called Notice the Sliding Door Moments. So basically what that means is when a student or a parent or even another teacher, you're having a conversation and they say one sentence that maybe touch on an emotion that they're facing, instead of brushing over that, take a moment to slip in that door and engage them by asking another question and then be present and listen.
I like that a lot.
Oh, I love that one. So important. I hope that everybody listens to that one twice, because I feel like those are those moments that if we're moving really fast, we can totally miss it. But if we really stop and think that one through, those can be some very intentional moments.
Yes, most definite. A real connection there with your student.
Well, Cynthia, I want to make sure our listeners can stay connected to you, can connect with the content you're pushing out all the time, and check out your YouTube channel and everything in between. So would you mind sharing how people can stay connected?
Well, the best way, it would be 2 options. One is our YouTube channel, which is in the show links, and that's at /babysign. And the other one that I think is my favorite is if you go over to the aslteachingresources.com, you sign up for our newsletter, you'll keep up to date weekly about our webinars, about resources we put out, and anytime we're doing giveaways, you'll be right in there.
Love it. And you can find all the links and all the resources and everything we talked about in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as the really important links for connecting with Cynthia, getting the free books, checking out all the different resources they have. So make sure you head over to teachbetter.com in the show notes for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you give us a rating and a review, we'd really appreciate that as well. Let's keep taking this just one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators, and share this podcast with them. Cynthia, this was awesome. I love the work you do. It's important work. And I could just feel the passion that you have for it, which gets me excited. And I'm super excited for people to listen to this episode, discover you and more about what you're doing, and connect and keep growing and learning with you. So thank you so much for taking some time out and hanging out with us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's truly an honor. Thank you. It's I'm glad I found you. So I'm going to help other people find y'all now.
Well, we're glad you found us too. And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.